There is this man, and he decides that he wants to learn how to swim. So he goes to the library and he checks out every book that he can find, the thick ones, the technical ones, the ones that are full of diagrams. And he carries this whole stack home and he reads them all. He reads about the freestyle and the breaststroke and the butterfly. He reads about breathing patterns and body rotation and the exact angle a hand should slice into the water. He studies Olympic swimmers frame by frame and water safety and the science of buoyancy, all of it. Weeks go by and then months, and his desk becomes full of notes. And one night, he closes the final book, leans back in his chair, and says to himself, "Okay, I know how to swim." And a friend asks him, "Have you ever set foot in the water?" And he says, "No, but I've read everything there is to know about it." So one morning, the friend drives him out to a lake, and the water is pretty calm. And the man, he walks right up to the edge, and he's completely relaxed, completely confident because he's done the work. He's read the books, he knows every stroke by heart, and he steps into the water. And within a matter of seconds, none of what he's read matters. The water doesn't care what he read. His arms aren't moving the way that he saw in the books. His breathing falls apart. All those months, all those pages, all that knowledge in his head, and his body has absolutely no idea what to do because he had never, not once, actually gotten in the water. Hello, my powerful people. This is the In Full Power Podcast, and I'm your host, Jasmine Conway. So that story, it comes from a writer named Mark Overby, and I loved it. Hello, my powerful people. This is the In Full Power Podcast, and I'm your host, Jasmine Conway. And that's basically what today's episode is about. So today's episode is for you. If there's something that you have been talking about, thinking about, researching, praying about, asking other people about, doing all the things, but the actual thing. You've done all the research, but you still haven't made a move. So by the end of today's episode, I want you to be able to tell the difference between preparation and delay. I want you to be able to recognize when someone else's fear has started to sound like wisdom that you follow. And most of all, I want you to walk away ready to stop circling the thing and actually go do it. Go get your own proof. Because, how easy is it to do that exact thing? To confuse knowing about something with having actually done it. And I think a lot of us do some version of this all the time. We read, we listen, we research, we watch, we ask everybody for advice, and we gather all this information. And then we kind of start to believe that because we know about a thing, we have somehow experienced it. But knowing and experiencing, those are not the same thing. And I think part of why we do it is because gathering information, it feels like progress, right? It feels productive, it feels responsible. And let's be honest, researching the thing, it feels so much safer than actually doing the thing because as long as you're still learning, you can't really fail yet. You get to stay in control. You get to feel like you're moving forward without ever having to risk anything at all. And I get it. I've done this myself. But at some point, you have to be real with yourself about whether you're actually preparing or whether researching has become the thing that you do instead of actually starting. And I recently learned that the French have two different words for knowledge. And I think this kind of perfectly sums up this idea. One of the words is savoir, and one is connaissance. And I don't speak French, so my pronunciation might not have been perfect, but the idea is so good. Savoir is the knowledge you get from books and facts and classes, knowing about something. And connaissance is the knowledge that comes from living it. So it's the difference between reading about Paris and walking the streets of Paris, right? It's the difference between reading about starting a business versus actually starting one, reading about swimming versus getting in the water. And the older I get, the more I think that the most important lessons in life live in that second category. There are just some things that you can only learn by going and experiencing them yourself. And I want to talk to you for a second as you're listening to this right now, whoever you are, wherever you are, because I would bet money that as I'm saying all of this, something has already popped into your head. There's the thing, the thing, the one that you've read about, talked about, thought about, asked about, and you still haven't done it. And I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad about it. I'm telling you this because I want you to go do it. And I want to tell you why I believe that without even knowing you, that you can do it. So let me tell you a story. Okay, so a few years back, I decided that I wanted to move to Mexico and not like visit, not vacation, move by myself to Mexico. So, quick backstory, I got one of my degrees in Spanish years ago. And for the longest time, I had this feeling that at some point I really wanted to live inside the culture. I didn't want Spanish to just be something that I studied. I wanted to live it. I wanted to hear it every single day, to struggle through conversations, to try to figure out what things meant in the grocery store, try to figure out how to just do normal everyday life in another language. I wanted the actual experience of it. And when I told people I was moving to Mexico alone, I mean, a lot of them thought I was crazy. People were concerned, they were wondering, is it safe? Why would you leave everything that is familiar? And some people just straight up told me, don't do it. And look, they meant well. I know that they did. But here's what I eventually realized. Almost none of the people that were giving me advice had ever done anything like this themselves. They had never packed up and moved to another country. They never started over somewhere brand new. So they weren't speaking from experience. They were speaking from what they imagined it would be like. And those are two totally different things. And that's the difference I want you to remember. Some advice comes from experience, and some advice comes from imagination. And being able to tell the two apart, that can change your life. Because if I had taken their fears and made them my own, I would have talked myself right out of one of the best decisions I had ever made for myself. So let me tell you about my first full day there. I had decided that I was just going to go explore, walk around town, get a feel for the place. And I remember walking around and this wave of panic just kind of washed over me. Like, what am I doing here? I don't know a single person. What is my life even going to look like here? Am I going to build a routine that I actually like? Am I going to make friends, or am I just going to be lonely the whole time? That was all just running through my head on this walk. And then I wandered into this little cafe and I ended up striking up a conversation with this woman who was there. And y'all, she became one of my closest friends the entire time I lived in Mexico. On my first full day, my first day, just because I was open, just because I said hi, just because I was willing to start a conversation. And that's how I ended up with one of the most important friendships I had down there. And it kind of cascaded from there. Through her, I met other people. I got invited to places I would have never found on my own. And now, several countries later, I have this deep, unshakable confidence that I can build a life basically anywhere I land. And I don't just believe that. I know it because I have done it. And not everything went perfectly. There were lonely nights. There were so many moments where I had no clue what I was doing. But it was one of the best decisions I've ever made because it showed me who I am. It gave me proof that I could figure things out, that I could make friends from nothing, that I could handle uncertainty and build a whole life somewhere completely new. In Mexico, it was just the classroom. The lesson was about me. And those lessons, they follow me everywhere after that, into other countries, into my career through layoffs. And now as I'm building this business, because once you have collected enough proof that you can handle hard things, you stop being so intimidated by uncertainty. And later, I found out that there's actually a name for this. There's this concept in psychology that they call self-efficacy. And it's basically your belief in your own ability to handle challenges and figure stuff out. And what's kind of wild is researchers found that the strongest way people build self efficacy is not through encouragement, it's not motivation, it's not positive thinking. It is what they call mastery experiences, which kind of just means doing the hard thing and realizing, oh, I survived that. Getting through the thing that you weren't sure that you could get through, it contributes to those mastery experiences, which builds up your self-efficacy. And when I read that, I was like, yeah, that tracks. Yeah, that makes sense. Because Mexico, it didn't magically make me confident, right? But the experience, it gave me the proof. And nobody can build that proof for you. People can support you, they can encourage you, mentor you, teach you all day long. But at some point, you got to go out and find out for yourself. You have to gather your own proof. And when I read that, I was like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That tracks. Because Mexico, it didn't magically make me confident, right? But the experience, it gave me proof. And nobody can build that proof for you. People can support you, they can encourage you, they can mentor you, and they can teach you all day long. But at some point, you got to go out and find out for yourself. You have to go gather your own proof. And look, I'll be real with you, as I always am. I am living this right now. I am building a business completely from scratch. And I've been in the corporate world for over a decade. So it's not like I'm new to working hard or figuring things out. But I have never built something from the ground up like this before. This is brand new water for me. And do I have fears about it? Absolutely. Like, what if the market is too saturated? What if my audience doesn't grow? What if people watch me fail in real time and I lose credibility while I'm building the thing? Those thoughts are real. They show up. But here's what I do with them. I go back to my proof. I go back to what I already know about myself because I have proof that I can learn. I have proof that I can pivot, proof that I can trust my voice, trust myself, even when I can't see the whole path in front of me. I don't know exactly how this business is going to turn out. I don't. But I do know who I've shown myself to be when things get uncertain. And that is the thing that is carrying me right now. And this is something I see everywhere. People, they will spend years learning about entrepreneurship and never start the business. Spend years reading all the relationship books, but struggle to have the hard conversations or never have the hard conversations. Someone maybe researching a career change for months and they've got all the spreadsheets, taken all the quizzes, got the certifications, they talk to people who've already done it, and they still haven't applied to a single thing because people can research every possible outcome and still not make a move. And listen, learning matters. Preparation matters. I'm not knocking that, but there's a point where no amount of information is going to replace experience. At some point, you just have to get in the water. And here's one more thing I think about a lot. Mistakes. We treat them like they're proof that we're failing. But if you're out here making mistakes, that usually just means you are in it. You are participating. And there's no real effort that doesn't come with some sort of error, some falling short. The goal is not to be perfect, but the goal is to participate. The goal is being willing to find out. So, before we wrap up, let me leave you with 1, 2, 3 takeaways. Number 1, be careful whose fears you inherit. Okay? Not all advice comes from experience. Some of it comes from imagination, some from caution, some from somebody else's limitations. So before you take someone's advice, just ask yourself, have they actually done the thing they're advising me about? And number 2, information and experience are not the same thing. You can learn about confidence all day long, but you build it through action. You can learn about courage, but you become courageous by surviving hard things. Some lessons you can only learn by living them. Number 3, self-trust is built through proof. Every single time you do something hard or uncertain or uncomfortable or new, you are gathering proof about what you're capable of. And over time, that proof becomes self-trust. Okay, so here's your power practice for the week. I want you to pick one thing that you have been circling, not 10 things, just one And you know the one. It's the one that you keep thinking about, keep researching, keep asking everybody else about. The thing that keeps coming back no matter how many times you try to talk yourself out of it. That's the thing. And I want you to ask yourself one question. What would it look like to go get my own proof? And I don't mean blow up your life. Don't do that. I don't mean make the biggest decision you've ever made today or jump without any wisdom. I just mean go get some proof. That might be sending the email, booking the consultation, applying for the role, signing up for the class, having the conversation, making the offer, going to the event by yourself. Just the first real step that moves this thing from a theory in your head into your actual life. Because, sometimes the next step isn't about knowing how it's going to turn out. It's about finding out who you become when you finally make the move. So this week, pick one thing, take the real step, and go get your own proof. And I want to leave you with this, friend to friend. You are so much more capable than you are giving yourself credit for. I really believe that. But you are never going to feel it from the sidelines. You cannot read your way into it. You can't think your way into it. And you definitely can't wait your way into it. You feel it by doing. You feel it by getting in the water. So go live your life. Go do the hard thing. Have the conversation. Take the trip. Start the business. Raise your hand. Ask for what you want. Not because you're certain that it's all going to work out, but because you owe it to yourself to find out what you are made of. And every time you go do one of those hard things, you walk away with proof. Proof that you can point to the next time the fear shows up. Proof that builds and builds and builds until one day you turn around and you realize that you trust yourself completely. There are some things that you just can't learn until your feet leave the shore. So stop asking yourself whether you're ready. Go give yourself the chance to find out who you become. I'm in your corner. I'm cheering you on. Now go get your proof. If this resonated with you, share it with another powerful person who needs to hear it. I'm Jasmine Conway. This is the Info Power Podcast. I'll talk to you next time.